Jackie Michelle here with Release Management over here at GitLab. I'm going to talk a little bit about our release evidence category direction today. First, as an introduction, release evidence is within the stage of release management, which is very focused on delivering a very mature experience for orchestrating releases within GitLab. A component of that is successfully managing environments and deployments with our tool, as well as secrets management and even deploying to our pages. Release evidence is very focused on the auditor and compliance personas within release orchestration. So when we think about the different phases of a software development, an auditor may come in and ask for an artifact that shows all of the changes that have occurred in your software, who made those changes, and when those changes were made. We've built release evidence as a tool that captures a snapshot of the release object based off of the associations to a milestone. The milestones that are contained within an issue are also linked within evidence. And then there's a commit SHA that can be verified that nothing has been tampered with as a part of this auditing and compliance story. When we look at the future of release evidence, we're very focused on expanding the information that is contained in the current JSON file today. So we have the base attributes of name, project, milestone, but we're looking to expand that reach into test results, scan results, merge requests, who made those changes, were the changes that were merged had an approver on it that was different than the person who actually created the change. And then of course we want the logging of all of this release evidence to make sure that we are tracking those changes over time. When we consider what our competitors are doing in this space, release evidence is primarily a stitched together process. So our end goal is to deliver this single stop shop place where people can go and access all of the changes of a version over a period of time and easily compare them so that they can sample those changes and make sure they're following regulations. Let's go ahead and review what we've delivered today and where we're going to go. So today, release evidence is captured at the released at attribute. You also have the capability of creating an upcoming release, and therefore the release evidence is scheduled. And we also delivered some more advanced functionality for how an evidence can be captured. A release evidence is a JSON file that's attached to that release object, and it offers some really neat attributes that allow people to see this chain of custody related to a project's release. So in today's world, when you call the releases API, you can get the ID of a tag, the release name, the project ID, project name, and of course the released attribute. And if you have an associated milestone, you also get the milestone in addition to all of the issues that are assigned to that milestone. And you can assign multiple milestones to any given release evidence, making it really compelling for planning and tracking the changes that you're making to production. When we look at what we've expanded on the release evidence today, we're very focused on allowing our users to deliver more release evidence comparison capabilities within any given release. So if you're a core user, you would take a JSON file from a previous version and compare it to perhaps the current version. And you would diff those two JSON files and see the changes. Our more advanced customers in the releases capability may want to take that same release and compare multiple snapshots over the same time. So in this image right here, you can see there's several evidences that are collected for the same tag. So the released at attribute allows you to collect these different release evidences on demand, which is offered to our premium customers and above. The advantage here is that you can take this JSON file and this JSON file, diff them, and see the changes over time. So let me go ahead and show an example of how a core customer would do this. So I will go to a project. I see I have this tag here in this version. I'm going to go ahead and click my evidence JSON for this version. I'm also going to go to this tag here of a separate version in the same project and click that. And then I'm going to use a JSON diff tool. I'm going to go ahead and select a couple files here for my first version. And then I'm going to choose the file of my second version. And then I'm going to hit compare. We can see that this diff tool has found 5 differences. And we can see that they get highlighted as you click through them. And the strings and numbers are actually different. So this would be an example where over time we'd be able to observe the differences. And as we build out more maturity, we'd be able to see that this is how our production environment has changed, who made the change, and potentially why the change was made. Another neat feature that will help this auditor persona or compliance persona is this idea of identifying rule violations in the release evidence file. So as we expand release evidence to include things like merge request was submitted by and merge request was approved by in the production environment, we could add a rule to GitLab that says I need my approver and my submitters to be 2 different IDs, and we would be able to add a comment to the evidence that suggests MR approver and submitter is the same or not the same. Then a user could use that JSON diff tool and be looking for those lines to have different strings or different names. Or if there's a comment on that release evidence file that highlights these rules are violated, someone could then triage fixes to then make sure that they're in compliance for their production environment. Altogether, release evidence is about making the auditing and compliance journey as simple as possible. It's a complicated process and it can be very disruptive to people who are producing changes to production. So by organically capturing this information in a one-stop place, we actually compete very effectively with the current tools out there. And we also satisfy the needs of many of our users.